This is Brian, and welcome back to Final Fantasy X. I do anticipate wrapping up today. Just got one thing left to do. And, well, preparation for that one thing. I'm planning on taking out Penance with Yojimbo. But part of what I need to do for that is to get Yuna's affinity with Yojimbo raised up a little bit. This might not be the best place to do this. I don't know, because the encounter rate seems fairly low here.
Please clear us a path.
What we're gonna do is, I think I have so much money it shouldn't really matter. I think if you did like 1.5 or 2,000 it'd be enough, but let's go ahead and pay him 3,000 every time here. And eventually he should start more consistently using his better attacks. Well, Zanmato is what I am overall looking for. I don't know what the odds are of getting it for that amount of money, but it's got to be pretty high. Or, I mean, a fairly low chance for me to be able to get it. And I don't know. Like, I think it's a chance every time you summon him. So I don't think it would work like that it was just the next thing due for him to use. So I don't think I can just reload my save and do that. Don't know if it matters if his overdrive is filled up either. I mean, obviously he just used that motto without it being filled up. No, not that much. But I think since I do have a overdrive built up for Yuna, I will grand summon him. Okay. WTF. Is it because I have Yuna maxed out on the sphere grid so much? Is that what's going on here? Or did I just have the best amount of luck ever here so far? I mean, depending on how I want to look at it, I don't know if it's lucky.
Out of my way!
Considering this isn't when I want to use it. If it does go like 5 in a row here or something, if I keep getting Zanmatos, I might just go ahead and try it against Penance. I can't do it again, right? Okay. I don't know, in some way I almost feel better about that. Okay. There's that move that kept annoying me. It didn't hit all of the enemies, though? It was always hitting everybody in my party. well, that's another opportunity to pay him here. And there's another Zen motto. So we must already have her built up fairly well with him, I guess. I haven't really been using him, so it must just be from having her stats raised up so high. Like maybe her luck stat helps add to that. I don't know anything about that, I'm just speculating. And there's also the issue of if I go and use Yojimbo against Penance and it doesn't do Zenmato on the first try,
Fight on!
can he survive long enough to get another shot at it? I don't know. For some reason I forgot to hit the button there to confirm it. I was just sitting waiting for something to happen. That time I hit all of them. He's glitching out on us. You know, for purposes of what I'm doing here, it might help to get people in here that don't have auto haste on, so Yuna's turn will show up faster. Pretty sure I already changed the settings so that the cutscene for the Aeon showing up here doesn't take as long. But I can go look at that after this fight, just to make sure. Yeah, his cape keeps glitching out here, kind of. I don't know if I... Well, I didn't notice it the first couple of times, but maybe it was doing it the whole time. Yeah, we're on short, so it's about the best I can do as far as time goes here for that. The only other thing is the frequency of the encounters, but if he does the single enemy attacks, this is a good place to run into a lot of enemies, so that helps for that, I suppose. Because I get multiple chances to pay him on each turn. Although the farther we go into this, the less likely he is to use that weaker single enemy move, I suppose. I don't want to accidentally dismiss him, because I would imagine that would not make him like us anymore. If we summon him just to get rid of him. Okay, there's another Zenmato. It's coming up fairly often. And yeah, I said previously in the playthrough, if you've been following, pretty sure it can one-shot anything. It's just an instant kill spell. They have, usually it's Odin that has that kind of move in Final Fantasy games as far as summons go, but it usually doesn't work on bosses. In this game it does, though. Or maybe it's just a really low chance of working on bosses in some games, but this one, I guess the low chance is just getting him to do it. I was thinking about how I could get his overdrive filled up at this point in the game if I wanted to. I guess I'd probably have to go and fight in the monster arena, because I don't think any other enemies would probably be able to hurt him at this point. Or not for enough to raise the overdrive. Oh, maybe... Well, no, I was going to say if we do boost or shield, but he doesn't even have that option, I don't think. It's just pay or dismiss. I'll double check that on the next fight and see if I can push left or right. But yeah, there's another one. So out of what? I paid him like 10 or 15 times now? Somewhere in that range, and he's already done Zanmato at least 5 times, I think? Seems like I've seen that more than the other ones so far. I'm still not going to stop this quite yet, though. And when I go to fight Penance, I don't think you have to pay him necessarily that much, and obviously I'm proving you can get him to do it with 3,000 here. But my plan is, since I have so much, I'm probably just going to drop 1 million on him. Hopefully there's some kind of mechanic where paying him too much makes it a lower chance, but I wouldn't think so. What kind of a mercenary would he be for that? Okay, I didn't even have to pay him for that. I think he likes us. And in that case, he seems kind of broken. I suppose I never really used him too much because, well, at this point in the game, I have my stats high enough to do other strategies. And earlier on in the game, I don't really want to waste that much money on him, having to pay him, because we have better uses for the money, for bribing, for different stuff. Okay, nope, there's nothing else we can do besides pay and dismiss. Okay, there's that individual one again. So he can still do that. Another Zanmato. Well, I don't think I'm satisfied at how often he's been using it here, even with just 3,000. So I think I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go try it out. Now, Titus, Waka, and probably actually going to start with yeah, Titus, Waka, and Riku. Even though I'll be using Yuna, but I think it's going to be better that way because I can swap her in. Because otherwise she isn't going to get the first turn. And just in case, I don't want to waste all my money and just get a game over and have to do this again. So I'm going to drop a save here. And that should be it, as far as my saves go, hopefully.
We're counting on you, kid.
And yeah, if this doesn't work, I'm not really ready, I don't think, for this fight otherwise.
Here we go!
I could give it a try anyway, but I think if it doesn't fail, we're probably going to get wiped out right away. Or if it does fail, I mean, did I say if it doesn't fail? Don't mind me. Just rambling. Yeah, as far as I know, the game certainly doesn't give us any lore on where Penance comes from or what he is. And for that matter, they don't really tell us anything about the Dark Aeons, so I think you have to look up other stuff if you want to get more lore on it. And even at that, I don't know if it's just like fan theories or if there is actual developer lore on what he is and where he came from. Probably doesn't matter, but let's do the Grand Summon. I mean, just in case I get a chance to pay him again, I think I should not just pay him everything. But let's give him $1 million. And there we go. Okay, I think this will take him out. And there you go. The cheesy way to beat the super boss, I guess. I've never done it before, but I'm glad I at least got to do it once here. I thought getting Zenmato was going to be tougher than that, but it seems fairly common once you get the ability, once you get all the stats high enough and you have enough money. And what does he drop for us? What do we get for this? Solidity, 3 Master Spheres, 2 Dark Matters. We didn't get an overkill, I don't think, because it's not, it was just a KO completely. So I think you could get 6 Master Spheres if you get an overkill on him, probably. And nobody even says anything about it. Now, what does a Master Sphere do? I don't think I had any of those yet, did I? Oh, yeah, we had 17 of them. Any ability or attribute, though. And if I didn't go over these before, I guess I should have, but yeah, black one just activates any black magic node that's already used by an ally. Same thing for white. You just have to have one ally that's unlocked it already, and then anybody can use it. Same for the skill one and special. And these special ones, the teleport one just lets you go to any node that's already activated by an ally. Friend lets you move to their location. It's not gonna let me use it here because we're all on the same one there already. And return is to any node that your character themselves has previously activated. I wasn't trying to do that, but whatever. Let's check out that armor. I think it was another one for him, wasn't it? No? Okay, it was a bracer. Okay. A ribbon with 3 empty slots. Not bad. By the time you've been able to beat him, though, I don't know why the heck you'd need it. If you know what I mean. Unless you want to go just farm Nemesis. I think you can still fight Nemesis, but don't see much of a point there.
We're counting on you, kid.
Alright, now I'm just going to go somewhere where I can get some decent music in the background. Well, I mean, it's all decent, but I'm just going to think about what kind of music do I want to play in the background as I give my short review at the end here. Because we are done with Final Fantasy X, I'm not going to be doing anything else. I beat all of the super bosses and all of the arena. We beat the Dark Aeons, everything in the arena, and we beat Penance. The side quest for getting the Celestial Weapons, I did everything except for getting the Chocobo race to the point where I could get the Sun Sigil for Titus. If you have to get the race, you have to get below 0 for the time on it, and the best I was able to do was like 1.2 or 1.4 seconds. I could keep trying that, but it really does kind of annoy me, so I'm just going to call it good and we'll move on to the next game after this. Otherwise, what else is there? Oh yeah, and also I beat the main game quite a while ago. If you were following along in the playthrough, it's been... I don't remember what episode it was, but if you haven't been following and you want to see that, I had it up on the playlist on my channel here, so I encourage you to go back and check it out. What kind of music do I want? I don't really care too much. They're all pretty good. Don't want to go to the Thunder Plains because I don't want to deal with the thunder. Let's go to Kellica. What was the music like there? I think it's pretty calm and relaxing, right? That guy looks like Becklem from Final Fantasy X too. I wonder if that is him. But yeah, the airship docks out here at the end. They haven't done much rebuilding yet. Just a lot of rubble here. But anyway, I'm gonna give a short review. If you've watched any of my playthroughs before, I just get to the end and I give a short review as far as what I liked about the game and a few things I didn't like the most or I thought they could have done better. Some of these games that are so good, my negative comments are mostly just minor nitpicks. And I'll give a kind of rating as where I rank the game, what kind of a scale I'd put it on, and for Final Fantasy games, I'll kind of tell you what I think about it compared to the rest of them. To begin with, let's talk about the good aspects of the game that I really liked. For one thing, I think it's got a pretty good story. There are a few things that I'd probably change if it was up to me, but overall, tugs at the heartstrings at moments, and playing as Titus and them keeping him in the dark and kind of learning how the world works as you go. It's kind of like us figuring it out with him, so I like the way they did that. It's a pretty good way to handle it, I think. Whereas in other games, the protagonist should already know about the world he's in, so you got to kind of figure things out otherwise from different characters. But yeah. And another thing I already kind of talked about when I was picking where I was going to go here is it does have a lot of great music. That's kind of a staple through the Final Fantasy series, it seems like to me, but they're not the only ones with great music, but I do enjoy the music in pretty much all of the games. or all the ones that I've played at least. I don't know about some of the newer ones because I haven't played them. And I don't think Uematsu has been involved in as much as he was throughout the first game, so I would guess the quality might be going down because that guy's a legend and a genius. But either way, I'm sure they're still decent. Next thing is the battle system. Final Fantasy does a pretty good job with trying to change it up every game, even though, I mean, they could just stick with a system that works and stay with that. It's kind of like the Dragon Quest series. They seem to have done that from what I've seen so far through the first 4 games. They just take the system and just build upon it a little bit each time. Whereas in Final Fantasy, it's just like they break the whole thing apart and start fresh with different ideas every time. And this one worked pretty smooth, I think, while keeping it turn-based. It allowed you to pop in your other characters pretty easily in the middle of battle, so you didn't necessarily have to have a party set. You could still use everybody in a given battle. I like that idea. It's a little rough at times, but I like the concept enough to really think highly of it, so there's that. Next thing is I think they did a pretty good job with the side quests in this game. I know I've talked about that as we've gone through the playthrough if you followed the whole thing, but they didn't make them too difficult while still making them very difficult in a sense to be a challenge, to make you feel like you've accomplished something if you beat them. Like the lightning dodging, it can be very tough, and I know at first I was intimidated by it and didn't think there was any way to do it. And I don't think I figured it out on my own. I think I saw a guide for somebody showing what they did. And after I saw that, I was like, well, I can try that for myself. And yeah, I figured it out, and that's not even one of my concerns when I'm doing a playthrough of this anymore. I know I'm going to be able to do it. Chocobo racing, on the other hand, not so much. I know there's a chance I can do it, but it relies too much on luck and probably better skill than I have at it, that I usually just get frustrated and give up with it. So that is the one thing that keeps me from 100% completing this game every time through. Done it before, but it's just not something that's going to be consistent for me. Other side quests, some people say the butterfly catching one's pretty hard. I've never had that much trouble with that. Granted, it's not like it's easy. It takes me a few tries, but I always get them without really getting too frustrated by it. What else we got? The Cactuar one. It can be difficult to get all of the actual named spheres, but that's not necessary for completion anyway, so I would consider that to be one of the easier ones overall. Yuna's is just a matter of getting your Aeons built up enough to be able to defeat Belgamine. So that one doesn't seem too bad either. And if you want to get all of the optional Aeons, you're going to get that anyway. Wakkas, depending on what you think of Blitzball, if you hate Blitzball and don't want to play much of it, you're really not going to like getting Wakka's celestial weapon unlocked, or his reels for that matter. But once you get used to Blitzball, and if you enjoyed it at least a little bit, it shouldn't be too bad to get through it. The hardest part of Blitzball, I think, is the starting out. Once you get used to it and you start getting your levels built up, it's not too bad. I remember it was my 3rd or 4th playthrough of the game, I think, before I finally won the first Blitzball game in the story against the Luca Goers, and I was pretty pumped up when I finally did that. Since that, though, I've gotten to the point that it's really not a big deal to beat them either, because I'm pretty aware of how the game works and what I need to do. Learn to look at the mini-map up top and to see and judge kind of how far you need to be away from the other characters before you can use an action, so you don't get too close that they attack you. But, yeah. Was that all of the side quests for the celestial weapons? Did I discuss all of them? Oh, well, there's the monster capturing for... I think that's how you get Orans. It's just time-consuming. I wouldn't necessarily consider that to be difficult at all. If you're going to do the arena, I'd say you should be able to get his anyway. It's just on the way. So that's usually one of the easier ones for me to unlock when I go through and play the game. And I think that is all of those. Like I said, pretty good variety. There's a lot of time involved in getting all of them done, but they're not insurmountably difficult usually. At least not after you get to the point you figure some of them out. So with a lot of replayability for me on them too. So in my mind, that makes this one of the better Final Fantasy games as far as side content goes and side quests. Next, I guess this kind of ties in with what I just said. I think the game has really good replayability. The side quests go a long way into making that so. Because if the game takes you like 40 or 50 hours to get through, the side quests are gonna double that up or more. Especially if you don't know the tips on like how to farm Don Tomberry for experience. If you're trying to max out and get all your stats increased, it's gonna take you a long time to get that done. I got through this playthrough and did everything. Well, except for the chocobo racing, but depending on getting lucky one turn or another, I could have had that. So I did everything in about 105 hours. That's probably pretty fast for what most people are going to do it. At least if you're being kind of methodical and slow as I was going through it. If I wasn't recording it and giving dialogue, I probably would have knocked off a good 10 hours out of that, I suppose. Especially because some of the cutscenes, I don't even care necessarily if I pay attention to them anymore these days. Although I don't think you can skip cutscenes, so that doesn't really matter, I guess. Later games, like Final Fantasy XII, I know you can skip cutscenes, but in this one, I don't think they let you do that at all yet. I wasn't really trying to for this because I wanted to record it all anyway. So, yeah, pretty good length for a game to keep you coming back and getting through it. There isn't a lot of variability as far as your characters go, but you can try some different things early on with the sphere grid, so that gives you a little option. This was my first time, I think, playing on the expert one, and I didn't really notice that it mattered too much, especially not late, because, I mean, you still unlock everything for everybody anyway. But early on, it gave you a little more choice as far as taking some characters down some routes that you wouldn't normally take them on, so I like that. Next, let's talk about some of the things that I thought they could have done a little better, maybe, or that I just personally didn't like. First of all, the overdrive system worked out pretty well, and I like it. Especially considering like Waka's, because it's so overpowered. And I do take advantage of that completely with the attack reels. It's another thing that it might seem I'm not the best with using like reels in a game, like a slot machine type of thing. Most games I hate that because I can't get them ever to line up. But this one, it's slow enough that even I can get used to it, and I've gotten to the point where if you've watched along, most of the time I was consistently getting the attack reels to go, so yeah, that's good. And easy enough for me to use. Some of the overdrives, though, I really don't like, and I don't think they're that useful to you. So that kind of inhibits the usefulness of some of the characters for me. Especially later in the game. It's like Waka pulls away, Titus kind of pulls away with Blitz Ace once you get that. Riku, depending on what items you've been picking up, she pulls away with her mixing. And then you have some of the ones that are kind of in the middle. Like Kamari has some pretty good Ronso rages that can help you out. Yuna's Grand Summon is nice to be able to bring in an Aeon with a full overdrive. But, you know, not that helpful necessarily most of the time. Just situational. Orin's, he doesn't have any attacks that can hit more than once, I don't believe, but he has some that can hit every target at least. So that's something. And he has the one that can eject a character from battle, but not for bosses, usually. So I'd put that kind of mid-tier, mid to lower. Even though I really like Orin, yeah, his overdrives aren't that useful to me the farther I get into the game. And then we have Lulu, which is probably my least favorite one. Part of that might just be that I'm not that great at rotating the stick and getting her to use her spells that many times. And even if you did, I don't know. I mean, I suppose if you get it built up all the way when her stats are high enough that her magic is high, if you did like an Ultima Fury, which I think that's one of her options, but I don't think I've ever really tried to use it after a certain point because never that good for me. Early in the game, it still is useful because you can spam her magic for at least 4 or 5 hits against some of the enemies, and that's better than a regular attack. But yeah, later in the game when I'm not relying on magic as much anyway, she kind of gets pushed to the side, and her overdrive's a big part of that. Like I said though, if you're good at rotating it and Ultima can do max damage once her stats are high enough, maybe that's still worth it for some people. But not me. Is that all of them? I think so. Yeah. Alright, well, after overdrives, what else don't I like? Well, and I guess that's not fair. I think I just didn't like some of the overdrives. I'm still okay with the overdrive system overall, just to be clear. Next, I guess I'll just talk about the fact that this is one that's probably more just to me than an overall criticism of the game. I know that it's a me thing, and I've talked about it a little already, is the Chocobo racing. Yeah, I just don't like something that takes so long to get back to start it again that you have to rely on RNG to be able to get it done. And I suppose most people, if you're not worrying about getting celestial weapons, if you're just trying to get through the main game, it's easy enough to just beat the race. It's not that hard, but trying to get the time below 0 is the thing that's frustrating. So I don't like that one. Another thing that I think they get a pass for it because it was early on in the era of doing voice acting, but there were a few times where the voice acting was a little lacking. I think they did a fine job overall. I don't necessarily want to say anything bad about the voice actors. I know that some of them I've enjoyed them in other roles too. A lot of the voice actors from the game. It's just some of the delivery of some of the lines was a little off. And like there are a few of them that are notorious. As far as Titus had a couple lines where it speeds up a lot. But I think that was more of a matter of due to compression and trying to fit everything on the disc. So it wasn't really his fault, it's just the way it had to come across was a little awkward. And I know everybody will talk about the laughing scene in Luca, but I don't really think it was that bad. I get what they were trying to go for. It was just the way it came off was a little weird and awkward, but I get what they were trying to say with it, and it worked for the story. Especially after you find out that Yuna knew that she was going to sacrifice herself. So yeah, she's telling him about trying not to be sad, but he doesn't even know what she's dealing with. Next, and I've kind of talked a little about this already too, but the sphere grid, while I really like it as a leveling system, it does the same thing that some other games have done as far as character growth goes. Like, I think it reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy VI, where it makes it where every character can get every ability. And I guess 7 does this too with the materia, but 6 does it with the espers. And then the sphere grid kind of does it the same way in 10. It's, yeah, everybody can do the same things except for their overdrives, kind of. So makes them all kind of carbon copies of each other and kind of eliminates some of the uniqueness. Kind of makes you wish for one of the games where they had character classes that were set and you couldn't change them. Kind of like what 9 did. Even though there were a lot of abilities that each character could learn in that game, there were some that were character specific. And like your mages were the only ones that could use the magic and stuff like that. In this, by the end of it, if you're gonna get everybody all the way on the sphere grid, the mages even aren't that special other than their overdrives. Granted, their weapons that they can get may be tailored more specifically to them, but you can also make replacements for some of that stuff too if you do customization. So yeah, I don't know, it's not the biggest thing for me, it's just a small gripe I have with it, and I don't know if they could have made any changes that would really make it any better. I probably would like it less if they did something different with it, so happy with the way it is, I guess, overall. One more thing, and I don't necessarily care about this myself so much, but I have heard this complaint from people, and I can see where they're coming from with it. It gets said even more for some of the other games than this one, especially Final Fantasy 13, but especially at the beginning and most of the way through this game, it is very linear. You don't really get a chance to go off the trail and explore too much. I would think the first chance you really get to do much of that in a large open area is probably the desert. Once you get to Bicknell Island. And even that, it's still fairly straightforward for where they want you to go, but you don't get freedom to explore until you really get the airship. And that's when you're about ready to beat the end of the regular game. Because, I mean, you get the airship after you get out of Bicknell Island, but to actually be able to control where you're going, yeah, you don't get that until much later. One way I suppose they could have done it is you could have had a type of fast travel to all of the save spheres that you've previously activated or something like that. I know other games have done that. Could have warped between them maybe. That might have helped a little bit with that, but yeah. It's like, I know there is dialogue and there's certain things you can do if you actually go back on foot at certain points in the game, but it just takes so long that I've never done it. Maybe that's worth something, but it's worth doing that sometimes in a playthrough maybe, but I would have to look up a guide to see what's going to be available, because I'm not going to go back and talk to everybody and go back everywhere that we've been every time I complete an event. So, yeah. And like I said, I don't care that much that it's linear, because it's a good story and I understand they're on a mission and that's what they're doing. But I have heard people complain about that before. Not quite like a Bethesda game where you can go out into the world and just pick a direction and go find something. You have a set destination, and that's fine. Well, that's about all I have to say about that. So, overall, still a really good game. The things that I don't like about it are vastly outweighed by the things that I love about it. If I was going to rate it on like a 0 to 10 scale, it'd probably be somewhere between an 8.5 to a 9.2 or something, you know? Depends on the day sometimes. And that's as far as my ranking with where I put it on compared to other Final Fantasies. It would also depend on the day. There are days where I might consider this to be my favorite one. Overall, I'd still always put it in my top 5, most likely top 3. Because I think I would put 9 and 10, and then maybe 6 in my top 3. 7 would be very close behind that. And then a lot of them kind of stick together at that point. It's like 5 is good, 8's good, 12's good. And after that, you get a little farther down. Yeah, 4 might still stick with the rest of those, I suppose. It's still pretty good considering it's a little older. But yeah, anyway, that's enough for Final Fantasy X here. We're going to go ahead and call it here. I still have the pull up for which game we're going to play next out of the Final Fantasy series. It's between Tactics, 12, 10-2, and 13. I'll do all of them eventually, but whichever one wins the poll will be the very next one. So we have a couple of days before I do that yet, because the next 2 days will be Breath of Fire 3 days for me. So that's it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this playthrough, and I hope you enjoy all the content I've been putting out, and I hope you keep coming back for more. So, anyway, thanks for watching, and if you've been enjoying the content so far, please like, comment, and subscribe or follow, and we'll catch you next time.